So while Cataclysm news don't exactly come thick and fast, and we have to kind of just take what we get, there is some good news on the horizon because patch 4.4.1 is now on the encrypted vendor servers for Cataclysm Classic. What that means is a PTR should be very, very close. If I was to hazard a guess, I'd say later next month we'll get a PTR with a launch following a few weeks later. Whilst the next phase without the addition of any Heroic Plus or anything like that we've kind of been waiting for, Blizz, where are they? You're still going to get a nice 7-boss raid being Firelands and a really long grind called the Molten Front, which is basically a daily area. While you're waiting for this though, you might be running out of things to do. Don't get me wrong, many of you are probably still enjoying tier 11 and progressing through, but in your spare time when you're not raiding, there's a few things that you should start thinking about now, which can set you up for a good experience in the next phase. Before we get any further, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Consider joining all the guys scrolling on the screen now by joining as a member. Members only are actually going to be getting at least one weekly video in a few weeks' time. It's going to be starting, and I'll let you know more about that soon in like a community post. So what can you do now that's going to set you up for success in phase 2? Well, firstly, if you plan on doing the Molten Front, you have to do the quests in Mount Hyjal now. I'm guilty of not having this ready myself yet, so even I'm going to be doing all the quests in Mount Hyjal over the next couple of days. The reason you want to do this is because to access the Molten Front, you need to hit a certain phase point. And what I mean by phase point is as you progress through the quest in Hyjal, different areas change because you're in a different phase. Now, whilst it's not complete in Hyjal absolutely 100%, it is pretty much getting to the end of all the quest chains, so you might as well just quest through until you get the achievement and you'll probably know you're pretty safe. If you haven't got to this point, when the next phase launches, you're going to get a quest which is going to guide you around Hyjal to do the relevant quest lines that you need to do. Whereas if you have done all the quests, you're going to get a quest that's going to just start off with a Molten Front, which is obviously what you want to do. I have done a full breakdown of the Molten Front. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to go and watch that. Don't get me wrong, for people that are going to be raiding like Heroic, it's kind of not worth it because the gear's only 365 gear, so odds are you've probably already got better because you're raiding Heroic tier 11, but there is achievements, there's like pets and toys and things like that you can get, so it's still worth doing from a collection perspective, but it's not like you need to commit yourself to doing it every single day to get it finished as quickly as possible, unless you want to get the engineering enchant for hunters, which kind of think like most hunters are going to want. But that really covers the Molten Front. There's not a lot else you can do in preparation other than getting all of your Mount Hyjal quests done. Now, something I've not seen anybody talking about and something I'm actually starting to prepare myself is profession materials, mainly profession cooldowns. So like you're probably used to by now, like when we had Ulduar or we had ICC, obviously we get new recipes. Now, Firelands is quite unique because some of these recipes are actually not only really good, but also you're going to have quite a hard time filling that particular slot. I'm going to use one example being the boots. So the cloth boots, which are Endless Dreamwalkers, have got Spirit and Haste on. Now these are 378 eye level, so they're not 391 of Heroic eye level. But actually, out of all of the Firelands bosses, there is only one pair of cloth feet, and these are Cold Walker sandals. Now, these don't actually even have Spirit on. They're Crit and Haste. Don't get me wrong, as a priest at the moment, you're probably using the Chimeron boots, which actually haven't got Spirit on either. So you're probably either reforging Spirit on if you need it, or ignoring Spirit completely. But with only one pair of boots amongst all of your casters, and you're probably going to want Spirit boots anyway. If you're a priest, as an example, you're probably going to want to get the crafted boots. The thing is, it needs 8 Dreamcloth and 4 Living Embers. Now, Living Embers are like primordial Saranites from Icecrown Citadel, so they drop from bosses, they're BOE, so they can be bought and sold on the auction house, and you might need to invest a little bit of gold if you can't get the Living Embers from your guild, but you'll definitely be able to buy them off the auction house day 1, day 2. Like, it's not going to take long before they're on for reasonable amounts of gold. But you do need to start making your dream cloths every day, because if you haven't got loads sat there already, you're not even going to be able to help your guild out, because once you get this recipe, these recipes drop inside the raid. They're BOE, the recipes themselves, so again, you can go and buy these recipes from the auction house, but you want to be stacked up on these so you can get as many pairs of them made as possible. Now, this was just one example. There's some really nice tanking boots with mastery and parry. Don't get me wrong, tanking boots are not the best ones to get because there's very little competition, obviously, being maybe 2 tanks maximum, and they might not even both wear plate. But there isn't actually any mastery boots, so you would be using dodge expertise boots, which drop from Rhyolith, and then having to reforge some stats off to get mastery if that's what you're stacking. But again, you're hoping that them boots drop. You could get these 3, 7, 8 ones, which are obviously going to be really good, but just to have a little dig at my own video, using tank loot for crafted gear is a terrible example. So what about leather? Ultimately, let's say you wanted to be able to get your tier gloves, which might be one of the first things you buy, but rather than fixating on what item slot this goes in, look at the materials. So you need 8 pristine hide, 40 volatile fire, 40 volatile water, 4 living embers, again which come from the raid, but also now these need chaos orbs. The same goes for the plate boots we were looking at. They need 3 chaos orbs. So these are things that you can start farming now. Obviously getting in heroics, if you've got no chaos orbs, looking and going, right, I want to craft the gloves and the boots, which both have got mastery and haste, both 3, 7, 8, but you're going to need 6 chaos orbs. So again, this is something you can start doing now, just farming heroics or farming, I don't know, Zolgarov and Zolaman, like those two specifically, so you're getting your Valor Cap as well, but get the items that you actually need for these outside of the living embers now. And that even goes for the pristine hides and the volatiles. Again, what you'll find with these crafted slots is, even for leather boots, there is only one other option from Major Domo, just these. And if you've got a couple of rogues and a feral druid, you know, who knows how long you're going to be waiting for these, so make sure you stock up on these materials, get the chaos orbs that you need, potentially even buy the recipe in the first couple of days if your guild gets unlucky and the one you want don't drop, and get them made, because you could be using them for a while. That is the funny thing about loot in Firelands. For most classes, there's only one option per slot. I actually spoke about in another video where I was looking at the caster cape, which every single intellect user is going to want. And then one last thing, which, don't get me wrong, I don't want to make it sound like this is mandatory, but it's something that I've been doing even on a DPS. Because I know Ragnaros Heroic is a little bit of a spicy fight. Doing your Tolbarad dailies every day, if you haven't done them for a while and you've got no commendations, to be able to buy the mastery and the resistance trinket, which obviously is really associated with tanks, but everyone having this could be really, really useful. I don't see it being needed outside of Rag, but I do think in lower gear levels, when you're setting those magma traps off in the first phase, on Heroic I'm specifically talking about, you can only set one off every 45 seconds because you will get a debuff that makes you take more damage. It's irrelevant what this mechanic is at the moment, you'll find out in a guide very soon. But the cooldown on the trinket is a minute, so if you was to delay each magma trap by 15 seconds and everybody in the raid was using this, which you're going to get mastery, which you can then reforge to haste, everyone's going to lose a little bit of damage, but while you're progressing, you'd be able to use this on every magma trap, which is going to significantly reduce the amount of damage across the raid. You might even be able to go drop a healer for the first phase to keep getting through it quick, because Ragnaros is a long fight and you're going to want to actually get through each phase one at a time to start seeing the next and working on it. So while you might not even use the Tolbarad trinket on the kill, being able to use it to safely, consistently get to the transition phase and then get to phase 2, it could be worthwhile. Please take that with a pinch of salt. I'm not saying, oh my god, you're going to need this trinket to get a kill, but while you've not got a lot to do, you should all have that. I mean, I've got it on 3 characters now because, yeah, I use it even in tier 11 for things like Crackle on Nefarian, or even the Breaths on Sinestra, depending on what class I'm playing. And I'd say, whilst there's not loads that you can get prepared for Firelands, I'd say those few things are actually quite important. As I say, Tolbarad rep, maybe not so important. You could consider that filling out the video if you like, but you don't want to find out that you need it and you haven't got it. That's the thing. So if you go and get it and you don't need it, then cool. But if it comes to progress and your guild's like, right, we're all going to have to get this trinket because it's going to make life easier, loads of these top 1% guilds are all doing it, then now you've got to do 5 or 6 days of Tolbarad dailies to get it, when you could just get it now. And it takes, what, a couple of hours over the space of a week. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.